welcome to another Onward Ozarks program with the Northwest Arkansas Council. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn. I hope you guys are having a great, extremely warm morning this July 28th. We have a great session in store for you. I'm excited because we've just assembled the who's who of cycling individuals here on the podcast. They aren't athletes as far as cycling is concerned, but they are cycling enthusiasts, and they have a lot to share about today's topic. And so all of you that have signed up want to learn more about what's happening here in Northwest Arkansas as it pertains to cycling, and just kind of understanding how the economy is being driven by cycling in this area. And recently there was a report that showed there was a $159 million impact economically on cycling here in this area. And of course, the Northwest Arkansas Council thought, well, what better topic to have than this topic of cycling? I know I moved here 8 years ago. I host a podcast, I Am Northwest Arkansas, and I talk about all things business, culture, entrepreneurship, and life in the Ozarks. And one of those things is cycling. And I've been talking about cycling and telling anyone that would listen that we have some of the greatest trails, some of the greatest mountain bike trails that you would ever lay your eyes on. And so today we're going to get into the nitty and the gritty of that. And we have assembled a who's who of amazing individuals. We have Kourtney Barrett from Walmart. She is the Workplace Mobility Director. We have Krista Cupp, who is with Runway Group, Vice President of Corporate and Community Affairs. We have Allyson de la Houssaye, and she taught me how to say that properly. She is the PeopleforBikes NWA Executive Director and Woman of Oz co-founder. And then we also have Molly Ron, who is the Experience Fayetteville Chief Executive Officer. So we just have a great group of people here today, and I'm excited to have all of you ladies on with me today for Onward Ozarks. I think this is going to be an amazing session. So just want to welcome you to Onward Ozarks. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Randy.
Absolutely.
Randy.
Absolutely. So listen, why don't we go ahead and get started, because there's so much to cover. And I want to, I might as well start with Krista. We're gonna throw the first question to you, and really want to kind of get an idea of what strategies does Runway Group use to engage the local community in cycling initiatives?
Yeah, thanks, Randy, for that. And thanks for having us. I think if we were to look back a decade ago at what some might consider an experiment in investing in trails here in Northwest Arkansas, I think, there was a lot of question mark around, will this really drive economic impact? Will this really drive? Is this something that's just sort of fun and we're doing, because we want to make the quality of life better here? Or is this actually going to be something that's going to drive businesses, drive industry here in Northwest Arkansas? And I think, we see a decade later that that investment, that initial investment is really starting to pay off. You mentioned the $159 million. And I really genuinely think that strategy that took place 10, 15 years ago on the investment in trails was really around experience. We have such incredible resources, natural resources here in Northwest Arkansas, that it's not hard to create some of those experiences. It's really about access. And so building that, I think that strategy around, all right, so how can we give more people access to nature through awesome, cool, heart-beating experiences to really peaceful ones where you just want to get in nature. And I think one of the things that we are really, really good at is the access from our neighborhoods, that you don't have to drive, 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour away to experience it, that you can walk out your front door and reasonably be able to access these trails from your front door. And I think that's what makes it really special. And I think it was the experience and the access that really drove that strategy in the very beginning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, and I know, I can only imagine as you guys heard the news when the University of Arkansas Center for Business and Economic Research released this study about cycling in Northwest Arkansas. I mean, we all had an idea that it was serious, but what most surprised you about the research that was just shared?
You know, not to be flippant, but I don't think I was surprised. I don't think I was surprised. And anyone who walks around Fayetteville, walks around Bentonville, walks around downtown Springdale, I think really sees that it's become such a huge part of the culture here. And that's really exciting. And, you know, when you look at the numbers, 109 businesses associated with biking in Northwest Arkansas, like that's incredible. 100 million amount was contributed by businesses in Northwest Arkansas that operate in the biking ecosystem. You know, these are real numbers. And it's not 159 million period, it's 159 million every single year. And I think that's what makes it so incredible and powerful. And you look at the investments that's happening by cities and communities and private investors throughout the region. You'll see that I think we're just getting started. And that to
Yeah.
me is the single most exciting part of this conversation today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I may come back to a few of the rest of the panelists just to ask their thoughts on that initial reaction to that figure. But I want to go ahead and Krista, I'm going to come back to you in a minute, and also want to remind everyone we have gifts for you. All right, and I tried my best to see if I could get a few of these for myself, but we have $100 Fat Tire gift cards. I love Fat Tires. Shout out to those guys. They have saved me many a time on the trail when I had a flat tire. $100 2 half-day e-bike rides from Pedigo, Fayetteville, and we have some amazing swag bags from Oz Trails. So you have to stay on for the duration of this panel in order to qualify for these. And throughout, I will be making announcements as to who wins these gifts. So I just want to make you available. Just want to remind you of that and make sure that you don't leave early, right? Because this is going to be a good conversation. Molly, I want to come to you. Can you, the Walmart UCI Cyclocross World Championships in Fayetteville was a huge win for the city, the region as well. And researchers estimate alone, it generated about $9.9 million of that 159 million that was noted in the study. If you look beyond just the money, right? Because I mean, of course, we all focus on that. But if you look beyond that, is there anecdotal evidence that having an event like that in Northwest Arkansas carried value that may not be quantifiable?
Absolutely. And thank you for that question. That was such an incredible event to get to be a part of. And some of my favorite takeaways, obviously, the 9.9 million was heartening and exciting to read. It also generated, just in tax dollars alone, $1.1 million in tax collections. It was our highest generated hotel tax month on record in the city of Fayetteville, which happening in January is just a huge boon for us. But it was those stories that came out of it that really meant a lot to me, that weren't at the level to get mentioned in the report in terms of economic impact, but we know had an impact on the individuals that were here and on our local businesses. One example is the project director that worked with us so closely became an honorary Fayetteville resident and bought a membership to our local Ozark Natural Foods, our local food co-op. And so they all got to know him because he shopped there while he was here. And there are so many stories like that about how the people that came in really engaged with this community. Also, one of the outcomes of not just Cyclocross World Championships, so that was a huge part of it, was Fayetteville being awarded the Union Cyclists International's Bike City designation. We are the only city in the United States, one of only 2 in North America, to receive that designation. And it is, there are 2 pillars, two overarching criteria that the UCI looks at in awarding that. One is events at the professional level, which hosting both the Cyclocross World Cup and the 2022 World Championships, not to mention the 4-decade-long tradition that we have of the professional Joe Martin stage race here in Fayetteville. But also it looks at our city's Cycling for All initiatives and what we're doing for our residents. And so our ability to be recognized as a bike city really came to fruition during the planning of the Cyclocross World Championships. And I think that will continue to have economic value for the whole region, not just for Fayetteville, though certainly for Fayetteville, but for all of our neighbor cities, as it shines a positive light on our part of the state, and comes with just a tremendous amount of earned media and public relations value that might not have been captured in the report.
Yeah. And I would imagine that all of you would agree that the one thing that I have realized since living here in the last 8 years is that folks play nice in the sandbox, right? We all share the limelight well. I mean, Bentonville, Rogers, Springdale, Fayetteville, we all have our healthy competition, but we're all focused on the whole and not the parts. And that's something that I have picked up. And I know people that are listening to this, that are maybe even some people that are contemplating moving to Northwest Arkansas, whether because cycling is part of their business or they just like having a trail to have access to. This is an area where everybody comes together to work together. And I think that shouldn't be lost on anyone. And I know it's not lost on the panel here. So.
Yeah, Randy.
Go ahead, Krista.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I really think that, our superpower is that we have the uniqueness and the authenticity of each city, but we come together as a region, and that is our superpower that is really going to propel us, I think, in a significant way in the future. And I don't think you can overstate that enough, how, everyone is willing to come to the table and come up with solutions and against these challenges, but also to think about how can we stand out as a region. And I think that everyone has really embraced this idea about cycling, outdoor recreation, really being one of those key things that can differentiate us compared to other places throughout the United States.
Yeah, no, I love that. Now, I'm just going to share one anecdote that was just passed on by Graham Cobb, who's actually on vacation in Florida right now. And he said, our boat guide yesterday said, I've been to Bentonville and we went for the World Cyclocross. And he said he's bringing back the parks planner from Tallahassee because they want to learn about the arts trail infrastructure. And, when people like Graham and myself, I've been in other parts of the country and people are like, oh, I know all about Northwest Arkansas. You guys have amazing trails. I've got to get there to ride. I mean, it gives you a sense of pride about your community. And it just also helps you to realize how important this area is becoming of a destination for a variety of reasons. But cycling is one of the big reasons that people come to this area. So that should not be lost on anyone. Allyson, I want to come to you and ask you a question. Many Northwest Arkansas residents are proud of our trail system, as I indicated, and especially the mountain biking trails. What, in your experience, makes a great cycling community? And I know that's a loaded question, but you're probably one of the most suited persons to answer it.
Yeah, thank you, Randy, and thanks for having me. I mean, I think it just goes back to complement what Krista said. Initially, it's truly about that investment. We're watching in real time play out a butterfly effect, that whole theory that if a butterfly flaps its wings, then there's going to be a tornado in Iowa later in the year. And I think we're seeing that. And it started with, there was a greenway built, and then there were mountain bike trails. And then all of a sudden there were riders. So there were more bike shops. And then you see programming coaches. And it's just like, we've seen this complete ripple effect. And I think that that's one of the things that this community is so proud of, is that we have rose to the occasion, and we're truly building this whole industry right here in Northwest Arkansas around cycling. So I think it really starts with the investment, and then the investment at the city level as well. We've had investment from Runway and the Walton Family Foundation, and then also our city leaders are committing to this. And so I think, and after that, I think you see community following. So it's just been incredible to watch this play out here in real time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you giving us that. And I have some other questions for you. I'm going to come back to you in a minute. I want to hit on our last panelist, and that is Kourtney Barrett with that small company that we know up in Bentonville, Walmart. And Kourtney, we're all seeing what's happening at the Walmart campus. I'm so excited to see all of the construction. Yeah, there's a little traffic up there, but that's just temporary. We know that the end will justify all of the effort that's going into it. But we've heard how the company wants to promote alternate commuting into its workplace culture. And this is something I'm really excited about. Can you tell us a little more about the strategy behind workplace mobility?
Yeah, sure thing, Randy. And construction is a good sign, right? That means things are getting built. The pain will be worth it.
Right.
The workplace mobility strategy really is a part of the new campus strategy. We're really focusing on principles like nurturing people and creating a winning work environment. You know, as you've probably seen and heard, the campus is inset beautifully into 350 acres that will be seamlessly connected in the community. Strategy includes promoting mental and physical health, integrating into the community with the trail network, embracing the natural beauty of the area. Simply put, we're really trying to elevate the choices, educate folks on what is alternate mobility, how can you access it, and how can it add time back to your day? How can we create frictionless experiences that define how you can commute and how that can add to the regenerative lifestyle that the new campus so beautifully embraces.
Yeah. And then just as a follow-up to that, are there plans specifically to encourage behavior change around driving cars to work riding bikes as opposed to driving cars to work?
Yes, absolutely. We are exploring different incentives that can encourage folks. We are breaking down barriers. You know, we just opened a few months ago the first ever informational hub at Walmart. It's called Walmart Move Hub. And it exists to identify what the barriers are for associates wanting to learn how to commute in alternate ways. And then we really give them all the answers. I like to say it's one word here at the hub, and it's yes. Yes. What do you need? Here's how we can help identify that for you. So if you would like to try commuting on a one wheel, on a Segway scooter, on a e-bike, on a cargo bike, would you like help with a route? Where do you live? How can we get you there? And how can we help answer some of the questions around commuting? And I think a lot of that is, it's simple in that you just need the answers for how to do it. And once you begin to show associates how to do that, then they get it and they're so excited about it, they want to bring others on. And we're seeing conversion, which is the gold that we're digging for.
Right.
Come in, give it a try, love it, tell others about it, and then join a ride into work.
Perfect. I love that. And, you know, it's funny because last year I hosted the Urban Land Institute Place Summit event. And obviously they brought people in from all over the country. There were several individuals that came in to talk about just the move to cycling and the move to alternate transportation. And I think that with Walmart leading the charge right here in our own backyard, you know, you guys kind of set the standard. And so I think it's going to be helpful for a lot of other companies to recognize that, hey, if they can do it, we can do it. Right. And so I think it's going to be great. And I tell you, I cannot wait to ride up on that campus as I'm just riding through the trails. So that's going to be really exciting. So
it's going to be amazing.
It is. It really is. So, well, listen, I got a quick pause. I want to just announce two of our winners. The first prize winner is Brandy Herrera. She'll receive 2 free half-day e-bike rides from Pedigo Fayetteville. Thanks for Pedigo Fayetteville making those e-bike rides available to us. She just needs to acknowledge that she's on the call. I think we do see her on their call. So, and we'll email you about your prize. And then the second prize winner is Thomas. And if I mispronounce your name, please forgive me. Thomas Hain, Hoehn, and we'll send you a $100 Fat Tire gift card. And if you can't use it, holler at your boy. I'll take care of it because I can certainly use it. But no, seriously, enjoy that. So Brandy Herrera and Thomas Hain are 2 of our first winners on this Onward Ozarks episode. So that's great. Listen, I want to ask you. I want to get back to asking this question, and it was the earlier question that I asked about what most surprised you about the research. Krista already gave her answer. I would love for you, Allyson, to give your answer on that particular question.
Well, I think also similar to Krista's reaction was it wasn't shocking to see this huge impact. And I think it's really no surprise that we know that cycling affects even the people who don't cycle. And so you're seeing tourism dollars, restaurant jobs, gas stations, everyone in this community can thrive when we have a thriving bike community.
Yeah, it really does. And Molly, what about you?
I wish I had an answer that differed greatly just for some variety. But if I'm being honest, the overall tenor of the report and just for the impact that it had was not surprising to me, because this is what we had expected. This is what we were working towards. So it was very affirming in many ways. I will say that some of the more granular details of the support of the report were really interesting to me, specifically as it related to cyclocross. We are, as Experience Fayetteville, as most people know, we are funded by what is colloquially known as the HMR tax, a tourism tax, hotel, motel, restaurant. In Experience Fayetteville specifically, the vast majority of that annual tax collection is restaurants over hotels. And so, of course, we always want to do things that generate expanding that tax base. And so I was surprised by the sheer amount of this direct spend in the area that did go to restaurants. We, of course, always love to see that outcome, but in planning it, we're not thinking about just that. We're thinking about how do we have the best event possible? How do we keep everyone safe? How do we attract the most visitors from out of the area? But it is a really nice to see in the after effects of that, just how I think that was the top category in terms of direct spend. And so that was a nice detail on the report that I don't know that I was predicting it to be the largest spend amount by visitors. That's great.
Yeah, no, it is good. And then, I have a follow-up question to you that I want to ask is, we know that many people visit Northwest Arkansas and connect with Experience Fayetteville team about riding the trails. And I've actually been involved with some of those interactions and conversations. But are people coming to your organization seeking advice about where to stop, where to ride? What are the most sought after experiences? What does that conversation look like?
Just the short answer is yes, absolutely. We have seen probably started well before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, when we really shifted our focus towards more experiential and focusing about things that people could do safely and do outside, we saw just our website visits, website traffic for the areas of our website that talked about outdoor adventure in general and cycling specifically just soared, and we're clearly the highest visited now that we are back operating in full swing. People coming into our visitor center here on the square, people calling us, people asking us what to do. I think this is an opportunity where Fayetteville can really shine with experiences like the Fayetteville Traverse, which connects Centennial Park, which we've talked a lot about, to Mount Kessler. But then I think where it is so unique and what is so impressive and what makes us all excited is that it winds through campus. So it's this urban experience right in the middle of town, right on a college campus, that also takes you out into this wonderful playground for off-road cycling. And so I think experiences like that, where you can, hop on the Traverse and be at these great off-road trails, but then also be within just minutes of a coffee shop or a bar or a hotel or a restaurant or a place to see wonderful public art. That's a space that we're excited to lead into more. And we have routes and itineraries on our website, and we fully expect for that to be more and more utilized.
Yeah. And I'll just give a shout out to you guys specifically, but then also to Destination Rogers and Visit Bentonville, because you can have that same experience with any one of those groups. Anybody that's listening to this, that's thinking about bringing a group to Northwest Arkansas for cycling purposes, whether you just want to ride the trails or just check us out, specifically the minority mountain bikers, which have come here to Northwest Arkansas now. My buddy Harry Hill, shout out to him. I know he's on the call today. He has brought a lot of minority mountain bikers to Northwest Arkansas for a couple of trips. And I know this last trip, because they wanted to introduce gravel riding, I connected him with you guys at Experience Fayetteville, and you guys gave them maps, you put them together. I think you even gave them a guide that ended up taking them out. And I thought that was tremendous. And I think that's what people can expect. A lot of times you would think that, oh, I've got to pay a lot of money for something like this. And honestly, it's just, we constantly leave the light on for people so that they know that they're welcome and that we want to show them how great our region is, especially as it pertains to cycling. So I personally want to say thank you for what you did for the minority mountain bikers, because I know some of those folks they came here and they were like, I had no idea this was in Northwest Arkansas. I heard other comments like, I'm about to buy a house here. I mean, you're hearing a little bit of everything around right? So when people think about the economic impact of cycling, it moves beyond just that. And it's funny because one of the questions up here is one of the questions asked that how this is impacting the number of visitors that come to Northwest Arkansas each year. The real question is, how many of those visitors convert to being residents? Right. And that's the really interesting question. If there's some way for us to ultimately get that metric, I think that will be really interesting, because it's quite telling now, especially when you go to Bentonville, that every weekend you just see a group of folks, and you see out-of-state license plates or things of that nature, and Airbnbs that are being used, but you're like, oh, these guys are from someplace else. But you always wonder what the conversion factor is to people actually deciding that we're going to make this place home.
Well, just to add on to that, just to give some numbers around that, in 2021, which was reported in the study, 65,000 tourists visited Northwest Arkansas for biking activities and spent more than $25 million. So just to bring the numbers into, and that was 2 years ago. And so I think that is significant. And, people typically aren't, buying a house or considering a move unless they've been here before. And so, the visitation, I know Molly can speak to that better than I can, but the visitation piece is so critical as we think about, the growth of the region, but also, filling jobs that, we know are still open here in Northwest Arkansas. And so I think there's this really great story to be told around, tourism that eventually leads to people that, want to be here and want to build businesses here and want to contribute in some way to back into the community. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, it is. Molly, were you going to add something?
I was just going to add, thank you for that shout out to the minority mountain bikers. And it is I think a testament to what's been happening with destination marketing organizations like us, like, Experience Rogers, Visit Bentonville, my colleagues up and down the corridor, in that for so long, people thought of tourism as really siloed and really specific to, let's put heads in beds. And that is a critical component of what we do. But what the larger conversation has been about, and what we're all now able to evolve into, is this idea that tourism is economic development. We are community-facing organizations in so many ways that are bringing economic development to our cities. And to Krista's point, new residents, they're tourists first. And so it is not simply about that one-time visit. It is about how does that have an impact on our economy as a whole. And I think events like cyclocross helped us really bridge. We were already headed in that direction, but helped us go from just thinking about counting heads to really being more experiential and helping provide things like we did, which we collaborated, by the way, with Rogers and with Bentonville, and showcasing our area to those riders. So.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And Harry said in the comments, he said that he feels like the light is always on in Northwest Arkansas, and that they're actually expanding to Rogers and other parts of NWA for their minority mountain bike over Juneteenth in 2024. And I'm sure he's going to bring a couple hundred people, and they will spend some money while they're here. So that's really exciting to see that. So thank you for all you're doing for that. Kourtney, I want to come back to you because obviously we have to talk about Walmart and a lot of the things that you're doing, because you drive a lot of the efforts that happen in this region. I mean, we just can't ignore it. So I'm curious to know what kind of goals have you set out based on what you're about to create with this brand new campus, as to how many people you want to see ride to work? Have you even remotely come up with any stats around that to indicate what portion of your associates are within a fairly short ride of where the new campus is going to be? And also, maybe you've done a survey to find out if associates have indicated they are open to trying this new commute model?
Yes, well, we do have a goal. It's 10%. So
Okay.
we're looking for 10% of Bentonville home office-based associates to commute to the new campus by means of alternate transportation, such as bicycling, by the time the new campus opens in 2025.
Okay.
There's the goal for you.
Yeah.
Now, couldn't do that without a connected city. So we're working with the city on prioritized infrastructure, on great community connection networks, on focusing on safety and education. All those have to work together seamlessly and to really hit the goal.
Right.
You may be surprised to learn that over half of the home office-based associates live within just a couple miles of downtown. Very commutable. You know, Bentonville altogether is growing, but we're still a relatively small area, 60,000 people. Krista, tell me if that's right or wrong, somewhere right around there. And when you look at where the new home office is located, it's going to be very convenient to hop on the Razorback Greenway or one of the connected areas and get there via bike, carpool, shuttle, walking. Many people will actually be able to walk to work. So, and then yes, for one of those last questions there, associates love to try new things. We love to pilot programs, and they're really excited about what it means to commute in new ways. And the bike is an amazing tool for that. It just so happens that it's good for you, your community, and the world at large, right? Anytime we can reduce our carbon footprint, that's a good thing. An automobile is a magnificent choice, but it doesn't have to be 100% of the time. And your day can flex depending on what your goals are. And this new campus really is designed to facilitate those healthy choices, such as commuting by foot or by bike or with others. And when you start to do that, you increase your heart rate, you slow down your day, you make community connections. When I ride my bike, I say hi to folks because we're in each other's space. And that just doesn't actually happen when I'm in an automobile on my way. I'm more in tune with my surroundings. And when you see someone else on a ride to work Wednesday, a tactic we launched a couple months ago where we wear neon and we ride and gather on Wednesdays and ride in from all over campus, and you see someone else in that neon yellow shirt, you instantly have a connection with that person that you would have not otherwise had. So you're intentionally building community. And Walmart is such a large campus that you now also have the opportunity to connect with others simply because you're commuting together. That may be one of the only things you have in common. So it's been really interesting how well received commuting in new ways has taken off with the associates. We're getting a lot of traction. We have, I think, over 800 Walmart Move ambassadors now.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. And as I'm sitting here thinking, as I'm listening to you, I've tried to say on your left in my car and it just doesn't work.
They can't hear you.
They can't hear you. So it doesn't work. But no, I appreciate you sharing that. And like I said, I think a lot of what you guys being Walmart are driving forward is going to have a positive effect on the overall region. So we certainly appreciate you doing that. One housekeeping note, we haven't heard from Brandy. We're going to have to give up that pass and give it to somebody else. Brandy didn't notify us that she's here. So we are giving that e-bike rental from Pedigo Fayetteville to Megan Bolander, Bolinder. Megan Bolander, you've won a half-day e-bike rental from Pedigo Fayetteville. So congratulations to you.
Well deserved. Yay,
Yes.
Megan.
So please notify us that you're here so we don't have to give it to somebody else, and we'll take care of that. Krista, I have a question for you, because I mean, you guys are doing some amazing work at Runway Group. When you see the current economic impact of cycling, the 159 million that we just talked about, and you know, just the concept of growing that figure, can you when you think of things like Oz Trails and Oz Gravel efforts, how does that factor into just this whole concept or idea of trying to grow this impact of cycling in this area?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, we're really thinking about, how do we continue to invest in incredible experiences, but also make it meaningful to, local residents. I think one of the things that is always the very first question, which is, how can we improve the quality of life for those who live here now? What are the experiences, whether it's, experiences in recreation or experiences in commuting or mobility? What are the things that we can invest to help do that? And I think it really is thinking about someone's average day. What goes into a day in the life of someone who lives here, who wants to go to work, get their kids, recreate in the evening, get to work in the best, safest way possible, but also to enjoy that experience. And so when we think about the economic impact, that's of course the outcome. But I really believe that the way to do that is to authentically think about the experience itself. And, when I'm looking at some of the questions coming in, I think one of the things that we are continuing to try to really think through is, we have amazing access, I think, to trails. We are never complacent about that. We can always do better. And that's absolutely a culture here at Runway. But I think it really is about, okay, so that next piece of it, it's about the mobility. It's about ensuring that, when I come in to work, that it's safe for me to walk or to ride my bike. And I think people are thinking about that too. The cities have done an incredible job at laying out, I think, progressive master street plans that allow for greater mobility. And the question then is, all right, like, let's get it done. How can we get it done? How can we come together to ensure that people are safe getting about where they need to go, whether you're in a car or you're walking or biking or riding a scooter or whatever that looks like for you in the day. And so I think mobility really is that next piece as we think about the investment that we're going to continue to make as we collaborate with cities and communities across the region.
Yeah. And is there anything specifically that you can tease with us from Runway Group that you're most excited about happening in maybe the next 12 to 18 months?
It's a great question, Randy. I'll go back to actually something that you said I didn't address at all, which is gravel. And this is a little bit about mobility and a little bit about recreation. It's kind of a combination of both. I grew up in a rural part of Southern Missouri, and, country roads were country roads. And I never thought about them as being a way to, recreate. And my eyes have been opened here, and it's, the fastest growing recreational opportunity within cycling. And so last week, in collaboration with the county and farmers across Benton County, we unveiled this new rural recreational roads program, which is really, I think, such a unique piece because it required zero investment on building anything. It's really about marketing what's already there, building routes around that. And again, I think, one of the things I've been educated on is Arkansas is really unique when it comes to gravel roads. And you might say, Randy, why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because other places have gravel roads that are, in grids. Well, that's not the case in Arkansas. And that makes for really cool and unique experiences to be able to, access some of these incredible landscapes and views and really tap into one of the things that makes Arkansas really great, which is rural America. And it's right here, right outside, and actually within, Benton County itself. So that's really exciting. And you're going to see that, I think, grow significantly, that program grow significantly and the investment from us continue over the next several years.
Okay. All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. So definitely stay tuned for what these guys are putting out, and Runway Group's doing some amazing work. So I really want to encourage you guys to stay keyed in with them, and with all of these organizations. You can join their email list. You can stay up to date with all of the work that they're doing, and of course you'll hear about it in the news, but you can also stay abreast of it through some of their newsletters. So I would encourage you to do that. We have two additional winners. We have Mike Johnson, who we all know from the University of Arkansas. He wins a swag bag from Oz Trails. Congratulations, Mike. And the other winner is Sydney Shack, who is also a winner of an Oz Trails swag bag. So please notify us that you're here, and we'll make sure that we get that information to you right away. So congrats to you guys again. We have about 20 minutes left, and we want to land this plane by making sure we've asked enough questions of the people that are listening, because we have almost 300 plus folks on this call today, which is a great group of people. I want to come back actually to you, Kourtney, with one specific question that somebody asked that it is actually a very important one, and especially on a day like today where I was sweating just literally walking from my house to the car. But the question was simply, what is happening with the design of building to accommodate people to be able to shower and change clothes before and after biking to work? And I'm asking you that, and I know, like, specifically, I've been in other buildings locally in Bentonville, like the Ledger, they have showers, they have locker rooms and all that stuff, so that you can come fully sweaty to work and take a shower and then make it to your office and, be able to meet with people and not be offending anyone. So I'd be curious to know how Walmart is going to deal with this.
We've got you covered.
Yes.
Would be the answer. So number one, let's not be afraid of a little sweat. It's good for us. All right.
Right.
But we do have you covered. If you do sweat on the way to work, we've got amazing end of trip facilities. There are showers and lockers in every quadrant. We'll have access to a lot of shared campus bikes, e-bikes, ways to get to and from work efficiently with a breeze. You'll have preferred parking. We have beautiful bike covered secure bike gardens in front of every office facility. We've hired the experts. We've thought through the end of trip facilities, and they're excellent.
Yeah. Well, I figured as much. I mean, that's like one thing you want to cover. So, and I'm sure those amenities and just the need to make sure that we're serving the whole cyclist is only going to continue to improve and expand. So, I mean, that's a good thing. We also posted, just so everybody knows, we posted a link to the study. It's the Economic and Health Benefits of Bicycling in Northwest Arkansas study. There is a link there that we've posted in the chat, so you can grab that and take advantage of reading that when you have a chance, and you can get that information. We have a lot of questions, and I want to try to get through some of these. And there's several individuals that are part of our founders or parts of startup companies that are serving the cycling community here. So the first one is Alicia Springer. And she said, as a founder of a startup cargo bike company focused on providing high quality, affordable family cargo bikes, and I've seen several in my neighborhood, she's interested in understanding how community impact groups and Walmart home office perceive the potential for cargo bikes to enhance the neighborhood access and contribute to achieving corporate goals of converting commuters to alternative transportation. And since I have you here first, Kourtney, I'll let you answer that first, and then maybe I'd love for Allyson to chime in on that.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations on your company. It's really exciting. Cargo bikes are definitely a part of the solution. It's a really neat time for mobility across the US, certainly in Bentonville, and of course at Walmart, because the micromobility options have integrated in with technology and features in a way that I think is unprecedented. And cargo bikes allow, obviously, for us to do more, for it to be a little bit more like a car swap option where you can hit the store, you can have a kiddo on the back or two. We showcase cargo bikes in our Walmart Move Hub and at Walmart demo days for associates. And it's in that curiosity, commuter curious is what I call it, where associates will come up, they'll see something that maybe at first sight, you're not sure how it works. What do you do with the cargo bike? Where do I sit? Where do I put my things? So when you present it in a way that allows for an associate to hop on it and try it or use it for a day or a week, then it breaks down some of those barriers where they can then kind of understand what that's like. So, I think it's a huge part of a solution are the cargo bikes. And I'm so excited that you're here doing that work and promoting cargo bikes in the area. Reach out to me and we'll see about showcasing yours as well at the next demo day.
There you go. Well, you heard it right there first. So please reach out to Kourtney and she will certainly connect with you. Thank you for that, Kourtney. Allyson, do you want to answer this question as well?
Yeah, I'd love to jump in on that. Alicia, great to hear from you on the call. I know you're also a fellow Women of Oz rider. And, part of the work here in People for Bikes is we're really trying to connect the industry to Northwest Arkansas and help create that vibrant bike culture. And the work that Alicia is doing is really just a piece and a great representation of that. And excuse me for using this reference, but really another cog in the wheel or spoke in the wheel, if you will. And so we'd love the work that you guys are doing. I think what we are seeing as trends is that e-bikes are really growing. And cargo bikes as well are allowing more access, going back to those themes that Krista was touching on earlier in Northwest Arkansas. Like, we are creating access and inviting a whole new group of people to come into cycling. And I think the Nargo bikes and e-bikes and cargo bikes are helping grow that. So the work that you're doing invites a whole new group of people to ride, moms, kids. And we know oftentimes mom can be the gateway to the social calendar. So getting her on a bike with the kids commuting can start a whole new life change for a family. And so, Alicia, I would invite you to get on a cargo next Wednesday and come with Walmart and Kourtney's team and the People for Bikes team and join us at the Pump House on A Street for Ride to Work Wednesday. Put on that neon shirt, grab your cargo bike, and come out and mix with us. And that goes for everyone on the call today. We'd love to see you at Ride to Work Wednesday, next Wednesday, 7:30 to 9 a.m. at the Pump House on A Street in Bentonville.
Wait, is this a community thing?
Yeah, right.
It sure is.
You guys are going to break a record next Wednesday, Allyson. That's awesome. So I may have to come up there too. I don't have anywhere to commute to, but I'll figure something out. So
you just commute to the Pump House. That's all you need to do. But don't forget to wear your neon.
I got it. That's awesome. Well, I have a follow-up question for you because I think it's something that a lot of people may be wondering about. And we heard about this recently, but People for Bikes just last month put out its 2023 list of best places to bike. And several of our cities are ranked. In this instance, tell us how you create this list. And do you expect Northwest Arkansas cities to move up on that list over time?
I'm so happy you asked that question. So People for Bikes, really one of the things we do so well is our city rating score. I mean, this is the gold standard in ratings for cities' ability for transportation on a bike. Just a few weeks ago, we released this year's results. Top scoring communities are in Europe. But for our area, or actually for the US, I should say, top scoring city was Minneapolis. And some of the things that they're doing is lowering speed limits, redesigning streets, and implementing ability for access for all ages and abilities. And that's how they have kind of boosted themselves to the top. Locally, I think, Benton, actually Fayetteville scored the highest with 47. Bentonville came in at 40. Rogers was 30, Springdale 31, and Bella Vista 46. So just so you can understand regionally how everyone's ranking. But I will say that those scores are really dependent on transportation ability, not recreation. So keep that in mind. But I think that we're already seeing things in progress that are going to raise those scores. And this is a trend that will continue in this area. The city of Fayetteville has reduced speed limits from 25 to 20. The city of Bentonville has just opened their first 2 bike lanes on 3rd Street and 8th Street. That's huge progress. So I think as you see the city of Bentonville continue to build out their master ped bike plan, you will see a lot of that shift in their ratings. And then Fayetteville, the work that Dane and Brandon Pack are doing and their city and city council, you're just going to see this continue to trend and these scores continue to climb. So I think it's really great for us.
Yeah. Well, and and I'm going to ask you this question, but I'm also going to ask any of the other panelists to chime in, because Joshua Johnson asked a really good question. What advice would the panel give for smaller communities that don't have the tax base to develop their infrastructure the way the Big Four do? Right? Because that is a legitimate concern. When you think of some of the smaller areas that surround us here in Northwest Arkansas, what advice would you guys as panelists give to somebody like Joshua who's asking that question? And Allyson, you can start at that off.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can start with something small. It can start with just a group ride or programming. You know, if you don't have the infrastructure, start by getting people on bikes. That's a simple thing you can do, and create the advocacy for these sort of changes. You know, write a letter to your city leaders or go to your city council meeting and tell them what you want. You know, it's really one of those things that if you want it built, you have to let your leaders know that you want it. And so I think there are small things that everyone on this call can do, or on this panel, this Zoom call can do. So start small. Don't think it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. Yeah, that's really great. Anybody else, Krista?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. You know, I think it is tough. You know, the stuff is not, you know, especially when you think about, you know, separate paved pathways. You know, I don't want to underestimate that does create costs. And so I think though that, you know, one of the pieces, number one, I think there's a lot of grant opportunities out there, in particular with the federal government, that cities can tap into. I think that's really important. I also think that within the Big Four, as you mentioned, you know, there's a lot of lessons learned that I know these folks, and I know they'd be willing to have a conversation with smaller communities to learn, hey, how'd you do that? How did you secure the dollars for it? So I think there's a lot of ways, but I would really start with, let me just pick up the phone and call someone who's done it before, and say like, okay, where do I start? What, you know, grant opportunities exist? What private grant opportunities exist around there? And I think it really starts with, hey, how'd you do it? And see if that really fits for your community or not.
Yeah. Who else wants to share on that one? Thank you for that, Krista. Kourtney or Molly?
I would say also, in addition to what Allyson and Krista have said, reach out and rely upon your elected officials at the state and at the national level, and, you know, make your voice heard to them as well, because there are state policies that we could enact that would make it easier. You know, I don't want to get too overly political on the call, but I think that there are things that we could do that would benefit small communities and large communities alike. And so I think, you know, reach out and have a relationship with your elected officials and encourage them to prioritize active mobility, active transportation, and incite this study that Nate linked about how what an economic driver it is. It is, recreation is important and tourism dollars are important, but that is not the entire story. It's about the health of the whole community. So yeah, I would say that is also helpful. And your county officials too, you know, your quorum courts, your county judges, I know that they have been instrumental in working with Krista and Runway Group and the initiative for the rural roads. And sometimes, you know, some of those things, like you heard Krista say it earlier, they're not, there's not a lot of infrastructure expense and things like that. It's really about getting the word out. And so those things are a lot more achievable than I think people realize.
Yeah, absolutely.
Randy, I just wanted to chime in there for one more second and also say, if you are looking for resources, I highly recommend you go to the People for Bikes website. We have a ton of tools, final mile projects, better bike share programs, things that you may be able to bring to your community. So please reach out to us. We want to be a resource for you, and we'll help however we can.
Yeah. And let me just say this. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm going to come right back to you. I've got one more little bit of housekeeping to go. We have the last two winners. We're going to send a Fat Tire gift card to Carter Smith, who is with CEI, a local engineering firm, and we'll send a couple of our half-day e-bike rides from Pedigo, Fayetteville to Kristen Switzer. So Kristen Switzer gets the e-bike half-day rides from Pedigo Fayetteville. And we also have a gift certificate from Fat Tire for Carter Smith, who is with CEI. So congratulations to you both. Sure, please make yourselves available so that we can do it. Kristen said woohoo, so awesome. So she's got that already. Anyway, well, listen, as we wrap this up, we only have a few more minutes left. I certainly want to, one of the things I want to piggyback on what all of you have said is about starting small with your groups. And I can think of like small groups that have become big. I think of Arkansas Latinas in BC, which Olivia Barraza started, and she, you know, she just wanted to get out and get on her bike. And now she's just got, they're like a gang. I mean, they're all over the place doing amazing things on their bike, and they ride throughout the whole natural state. But certainly it doesn't take much. You know, I think of Rachel Fox and so many others that are just out there. Girl Gang, NWA. You can find your tribe when it comes to riding a bike. And if you can't, create one. Just like what these ladies said, everybody on the panel is right. That's the cool thing about cycling. I'll get out on the trail sometimes and just start riding with somebody, and we're maybe going in the same direction. And I've never failed to connect with someone unless they're just riding super fast or on some kind of, you know, mission to get somewhere where I can't, you know, ride along someone for a couple of miles. And that's the beauty of riding on the trail system here, especially on gravel. You'll find that as well. So I really want to encourage everybody listening to this that even if you think you're by yourself and you have a bike and you want to get out there and there's nobody, people will connect with you, and you'll find I've made friends on the trail. So it is definitely not something that you should fear because everybody is, you know, kind of at the same place as far as that's concerned. I also want to give a shout out to the folks from Pedal It Forward. They're a nonprofit organization locally here in Northwest Arkansas. The reason why I'm mentioning them is because I know there might be people that are listening to this that are saying, I know some folks that can't afford to buy a bike or don't have access to a bike. Pedal It Forward, they accept used bikes, and they're volunteers. I've even worked with them before. They fix them up in the shops and then they give them away to people. Yes, you heard me right. They give them away to people in need. So this helps people get to work and to school. And so we certainly, you know, and this is the kind of organization, if you say, hey, I want to support an organization that's making cycling advance throughout the community for everyone to be able to take advantage of it, Pedal It Forward is a great organization to do that. They have an amazing mission. And so we just have so many different organizations in this whole ecosystem that really make a difference. And so as we close out, I want to give everybody a final word to share. And so Kourtney, I'm going to start with you. You give your final word, and then we'll go from there down the list.
Well, I mean, I'll just piggyback on what you were just saying, that this community it's such a wonderful place to live, work, and play. There's so many even bike-centric startups that have developed because of a passion. You know, maybe it's my entrepreneurial background, but it really does seem like anything is possible. And at the grassroots level, all you need is yourself and your interest. And if you show up and be the Bentonville that you want, or create, in my case, I joined several other ladies that wanted to learn how to ride mountain bikes. We simply didn't know how to do it, and we wanted to learn. And that forayed into a huge women's mountain bike group, Women of Oz, that now has brought through, what, Allyson, thousands of women that have learned how to mountain bike and that are teaching others and are breaking down the barriers. So, you know, I think my words here would just be the Bentonville you want to see. And as that relates to cycling in your small towns, if you're wanting to start something, just show up and start it, share the word, talk with others. A authentic pursuit of your passion is infectious, and people want to join you and they want to help accomplish and learn also. So building that community in whatever way you're interested in, you might be very surprised at the momentum you'll get quickly. And okay, like what Krista said, give us a call. Give anyone that has been there and done what you are looking to do a ring. You'll find, I think, a very authentic, kind, helpful approach that we all want to make this world the type of world we want to live in. And today we can do all the kindness and all the grace that one can give.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Molly, 20 seconds.
20 seconds. Think about the next generation. I think of a woman that inspires me. Her name is Liz Croft. She lives here in Fayetteville. She started the e-bike store, Pedigo, here in Fayetteville, which has rentals. And she realized that her child's school didn't have an organized bike train. And so she started one. And she has been an example of someone that I look to that is like, you know what, if this cycling thing that I want isn't here, I'm going to start it. I'm going to lead it. And that's something that is, little to no cost that she's done that's going to have a lasting impact on the lives of every single child that rode in that bike train. And I think be like Liz and people like Liz Croft. So I think that would be my final note.
I love that. Krista, your final note.
Yeah, I would just say that we are all advocates for this. And I wasn't a cyclist when I started here and have been converted. And I think, smile and wave. We are advocates for this industry. We're advocates for our own community. And so I think I would just encourage everyone to remember the weight that you have in your community, even as you're just riding around or riding with your kids. You have an impact to really make a real difference. And some of that just starts with a smile and a wave.
Yeah, I love that. Allyson, your final word.
Yep. I would echo what these lovely ladies have said, is that you all get to be a part of this. You are invited, and it is up to you in what capacity you want to do that. Even if you're not a cyclist and you just want to wait for a cyclist at a stop sign, that's great. But everybody on this Zoom can do their part to continue to build this thriving community here in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate you all. Kourtney Barrett, Allyson de la Houssaye, Krista Cupp, Molly Ron. Thank you so much for just joining me on this panel today for Onward Ozarks. You guys did an amazing job. And as I said before, this is a conversation, this is a comma. We're going to continue this conversation because I know we didn't get to every question. We didn't get to answer every question. There are obviously conversations about regional transportation, affordable housing as it pertains to cycling. All of those are playing into it. And the Northwest Arkansas Council is working feverishly to try to solve some of these problems. And I don't even call them problems. They're just challenges, right? And they're good challenges that we have that we can overcome. And when you look at this panel of women, as smart as they are, I have every faith in the world that this is the problem, the situations that we have in front of us that we need to solve will get solved. And so thank you guys so much for joining us today. Congratulations again to all the winners. Thanks again to Fat Tire for their generous donations to this program, and to Pedigo, Fayetteville, and Oz Trails. We appreciate all that you've done to make this a successful Onward Ozarks event. I'm Randy Wilburn, the host of Onward Ozarks, and we will see you back here very soon. Stay tuned for an email update for our next Onward Ozarks series. We really appreciate you guys so much. Enjoy the day and stay cool out there. Peace.